a person to ask questions about the story. Understand? You know this, so I don't want to talk about this because I think it is so simple. Okay, but for this one, questions for discussion. Questions for discussion, I don't usually use the questions in the textbook because I think those questions are boring. Okay, I always ask my students to ask questions. For example, I ask them, okay, now, you three, you're responsible for this paragraph. You three or you four are responsible for this paragraph. You four are responsible for this paragraph. You four are responsible for this paragraph. And then you are supposed to ask 5 WH questions, okay, about that specific paragraph I assigned. And then you're supposed to write down the questions, and then you're supposed to write down the questions on the blackboard, okay? Or sometimes if their English is good, you can just ask them to ask questions to train the other people's listening. If you are a teacher from the First Girls High School or Zhongshan Senior High School, but that's definitely not for me, okay? I ask my students to write their questions on the blackboard, and then I will ask the other groups to answer the question. Understand? I will always, remember, I don't want to get involved. I always like to ask questions all the time, okay? And then I ask them to ask some questions about WH questions, yes, no questions, and critical questions. What do you mean by critical questions? For example, you may ask, for example, hey, why are there so many men in the story? Hey, why is there no female scientist in the story? Why is everything related to male-dominated society? For example, in all of our textbooks, okay, most of the contents are related to male chauvinism and also male-related contents instead of females. You may say, oh, what about Helen Keller? Okay, but in that lesson, 3 days to see, you focus on the femininity, you focus on the somehow the soft power 软实力 of the women, right? Something like that. Okay, so you can ask them to ask some challenging, questions. Okay. On this one, read, look up, and say. It is very simple. Okay. For example, when you have the textbook, and then you may guide them to read one paragraph, okay, and then you can ask them to do the silent reading, or you can ask them to read the paragraph out loud, and then ask them to cover, for example, like this, to cover the lesson, okay, to cover that lesson, and then right now, you begin to ask questions. For example, okay, I'll start at the beginning of the story, and then what happened? Where did the lady come from? Something like this, okay? This is the so-called read, look up, and say. But this one still has a lot to do with my asking questions. So sometimes I make some variations. I will say, okay, now read first, and then I will say, look up at me, and then, what have you read? What have you read? Okay, what have you read? I write down the pieces or the segments of the reading on the blackboard, and then I combine them together, and then those things should cover that specific paragraph. Understand? They may say, Joe, a bus stop. Okay, I'll write down a bus stop. Okay, and Joe, Olympics. Okay, I will say Olympics. Okay, as long as they can say one word, that's perfect. Okay, remember my students are low achievers. Okay, as long as they can say one word, that's perfect. Okay, understand? You may have high achievers in your class, but yeah. And what about peer teaching? Yeah, peer teaching, I think, for peer teaching, okay, you may encourage high achievers in your class to teach the other low achievers because somehow some of the students are fed up with teachers dominating the whole classroom, right? So, peer teaching, for example, I may say, okay, now, for example, you are the higher achiever in that group, and you are the higher achiever in that group, you are the higher achiever in that group, you are a higher achiever in that group, okay? And then I will ask them to be well prepared for that paragraph 1 day before my teaching. I will ask them to come to the front to teach us that specific paragraph. But isn't that a little bit, too difficult for them? No, I only want them to double check all the meanings of the sentences inside the story. My higher achievers, they can do that, even though they have to double check a lot of words and expressions, but they can do that. And then they are supposed to do several things. Okay, number one, they are supposed to explain the summary of that paragraph. And then the second thing they have to do, in English, of course, in English. And the second thing they have to do is to answer the questions raised by the other low achievers. Because sometimes they may not understand this, so they may need to answer the questions, okay? So sometimes I will do something like this, okay? And also, no NG theater. No NG theater. You know what? In the upcoming Yuan Dong textbook, there are a lot of dialogues, right? There is a lesson about restaurant English. That is the recently released textbook, okay? The new textbook based on the new curriculum, okay? Remember? If you can go check it out. And there's a lesson about restaurant English. And then I often ask my students, okay, you two, you should memorize, you two or you three, you should memorize that specific conversation. Sometimes memorization is still very important for my students. Okay, I'm sorry, I definitely need to let them do some memorization. Okay, you three, you're responsible for this conversation. And then, later, I will ask them to come to the front to show their performances without the text. And then, what do you mean by no NG theater? That means once they forget their lines, they are going to get started all over again. So, for example, I still remember I asked my students to do something related to the birth of Jesus Christ. And then one of my students serving us jump, and then he came in. Oh, Mary, Mary, how much I love you. And then that person did this scene 10 times. Because the other person serving us angels or other roles forgot about that line, okay? Forgot about their line. So they always say, oh, Mary, Mary, how much I love you. Mary, Mary, how much I love you. Mary, Mary, how much I love you. And the whole class could remember that line. Mary, Mary, how much I love you, okay? So wonderful. They remember something and they can speak that to me. Okay, cool. They can at least remember one sentence from that lesson, right? It's up to you. You can make some adaptation. I'm not so sure whether you want to apply them to those things or not. For interaction, visual aids, and students demonstration, etc. I want to let you know, when it comes to teaching reading, you still have to keep asking questions to let them know what the story is about, okay? So that's why you should have the teacher-teacher interaction or student-teacher interactions, okay? And for the others, I don't have to make some comments about this, in case you are so exhausted, okay? Go on. And then for the last part, okay, the connection between reading and speaking, theme-based conversation, I think I'll get started with this one, so you may find that interesting. But remember, they are the extension reading activities I use for the whole lessons, okay, for the whole lessons, okay. After each lesson, I always ask them to engage in some oral activities, okay. For example, I may have this one, Toastmaster, okay. Toastmaster, public speaking or impromptu speech. I will show you those things later. But I want to start with this to motivate you to wake up, okay? To motivate you to wake up. Okay, there's a lesson about can we talk? Can we talk? This is from long-term versions, the new version, okay? And then that lesson has a lot to do with gender differences, okay? So let's check it out, okay? How did I use Toastmasters to teach them about gender differences? After I taught them all the details about those things. Okay. Toastmaster, right here. Okay, did you see that? Okay, did you see that? What's the difference between man and woman? Did you see that?
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I will try to enlarge the word size. Okay, thank you. And then I used to participate in Toastmaster. Toastmaster is a public speaking, organization, right? And then somehow there will be an agenda like this, introduction. And then conductor. We have the conductor, the coordinator. 他起家 right here. 他起家, okay, good. And then prepare speech. You can divide the class into two groups, okay? And then speaker one, books. He needs to cover the gender differences between men and women. And then James has to be responsible for a short speech, okay, regarding gender differences between men and women.